faithfully delivering value and interpreting great books worldwide.
Hello, this is Sally with Book Talk.
Today, we're interpreting the science fiction novel Human Extinction by contemporary Japanese novelist and screenwriter Takano Kazuaki. In 2001, Takano Kazuaki won Japan's highest mystery novel award, the Edogawa Rampo Prize, with his debut work, the mystery novel The 13 Steps Disappearance. The Human Extinction we're discussing today is another critically acclaimed and popular work he conceived over 10 years. It's acclaimed because upon its publication in 2011, it swept various authoritative awards in Japan's mystery world and topped 4 book charts. It's popular because the Japanese edition sold over 1 million copies and sold rights to 10 countries. When the Chinese edition of, Human Extinction was published in 2014, there was little fanfare and it didn't attract much reader attention. But even so, the novel still earned a good reputation. Currently, it has a Dubon rating of 8.4 points. Famous host Kevin Tsai commented on the book, saying, "What kind of brain does the author of this book have? I'm amazed by his vast imagination." So, what kind of story does this novel tell? Let's start with the somewhat sensational title, which indicates that human extinction stems from a fictional report in the novel. Research on causes of human extinction and countermeasure proposals. This report was proposed by an American think tank in 1977 and is referred to by the author's surname as Heisman. The report lists 5 possible causes of human extinction: cosmic scale disasters, global environmental changes and wars, viral threats or biological weapons, and human evolution. The first 4 are easy to understand, but why would human evolution lead to extinction?
According to the book's argument, this is because the new humans occupy the exact same ecological niche as modern humans.
An ecological niche refers to the minimum threshold of the ecological environment necessary for the survival of each species in an ecosystem. For example, humans and fish have different ecological niches. But the new humans and modern humans are in the same spatio-temporal ecosystem, and their essential survival conditions are almost identical. So only by eliminating modern humans can they fully occupy this niche. Many might think that evolution is a very slow process. However, in the year 2004, when the story takes place, it really happened. According to top secret intelligence reported to the president by U.S. agencies, this 5th possibility reveals that in the remote, isolated Congo rainforest of Africa, a new human species with intelligence far surpassing ours has emerged due to genetic mutation.
Ominous empathy.
Research suggests this new species can comprehend 4-dimensional space, possess a 6th sense, and exhibit infinitely advanced moral consciousness beyond modern humans' comprehension. Spiritual qualities unattainable to modern perception.
In their eyes, modern humans are dangerous lower creatures, obsessed with mutual slaughter and wielding technology that destroys Earth's environment.
Thus, beings deficient in both intellect and morality must be replaced by superior intelligence. So theoretically, though this new human boy is only 3, if allowed to grow and multiply into a population, we modern humans would vanish from Earth. Facing this threat, human society instantly split into 2 opposing factions. One faction is the political bloc represented by the U.S. White House. To protect their interests and maintain world order, they mobilized political and military resources to eliminate the threat by killing the boy immediately. They hired a 4-man mercenary team led by Captain Yeager to infiltrate the Congo rainforest and eliminate the boy and his caretakers, anthropologist Pierce, and dozens of indigenous tribespeople. The opposing faction is the scientific community, including frail Japanese pharmacology student Guhei Yanren, American scientist Rubens, and anthropologist Pierce. Their research suggests the boy's birth resulted from a special virus that caused beneficial genetic mutation. The science faction resolved to save the boy for 4 reasons. First, slaughtering his entire tribe would be inhumane. Second, If the Heisman report is accurate, the threatened new human would retaliate immediately, accelerating human extinction. Third, modern humans also need to leverage the superbrain of the new human child to achieve rapid advancements in technology and other fields. Fourth, scientists want to keep investigating what exactly triggered human evolution. Therefore, the science faction's plan is not only to rescue the new human boy, but also to cultivate gratitude in him while he's still young and impressionable, so he can coexist and collaborate with humans long term. There's also a subplot. The father of pharmacology student Gihei Yanren, during a research trip to the Congo years ago, rescued a pregnant woman from a primitive tribe with obstetrician Yuri Sakai and brought her to Japan. She later gave birth to a gene-mutated new human girl. She is the half-sister of the newly discovered new human boy, the new human siblings. The sister was raised by scientists in Japan, and the brother was rescued and escaped in the Congo. But both are grateful and become strong backers for the science faction. They help devise detailed rescue and escape plans, enabling the seemingly outmatched science faction to survive under U.S. White House pressure and Congo rainforest dangers, achieving a reversal. And, for example, the new human siblings developed super software to create a cure for the terminally ill son of mercenary Captain Yeager. They decrypted U.S. codes, obtained key intelligence, and successfully persuaded the mercenary team to defect to their side, turning the massacre into protection. To protect, they crafted meticulous plans and cleverly used the natural environment to repel U.S. air pursuits, ultimately foiling the cruel conspiracy. They preserved themselves against the dark political conspiracy. At the same time, they saw the good side of modern humans, which somewhat reduced the likelihood of human extinction due to evolution. Finally, the author points out that in the eyes of the evolved new humans, human intelligence is pitifully low and barbarically primitive. However, wisdom and thought are the fruits of human effort in biological evolution, and humans must strive with their imperfect brains to confront all challenges. At the same time, the author warns readers that we are both destroyers and protectors of the world. The future of humanity is a proposition that none of us can escape. The entire storyline of this novel isn't complex. So what made it a win-win in both reputation and sales? Next, I'll interpret this work from three aspects: artistic expression, scientific rigor, and ideological depth. First, its artistic expression. The novel has a brisk pace, intense plot, dramatic tension, and vivid imagery. How did the author achieve this? First, the author borrowed cinematic narrative techniques. Many readers praise the novel for feeling like watching a blockbuster, which is thanks to these film techniques. In recent decades, many contemporary sci-fi novels, especially those winning with grand scenes and complex plots, have adopted this narrative approach. Compared to traditional sci fiction like Dune and Foundation, it has stronger visual impact and more reader appeal. The author masters this method with ease, thanks to his background. Takano Kazuaki was born in 1964. He aspired to be a director since childhood and started making films in sixth grade. In 1989, he went to the U.S. specifically to study film. After returning to Japan in 1991, he began script writing and wrote, directed, and starred in The 6 Hour Deadline. Among other films and TV shows. When he turned to novel writing, he naturally projected film-specific techniques into his novels. Thus, this novel exhibits the unique artistic appeal of cinema. In Human Extinction, two cinematic techniques are primarily used: parallel editing. Parallel editing juxtaposes and narrates two or more plot lines occurring in different times or spaces, a common technique in fast-paced commercial films. This approach saves space, expands information, accelerates pacing, and adds complexity. Moreover, parallel lines can contrast and reinforce each other, creating strong artistic impact. For example, the novel bluntly introduces three main narratives early on. Each sketches the U.S. president, mercenary Captain Yeager, and Japanese pharmacology student Guhei Yanren in just one or two scenes, outlining their status, resources, abilities, and traits, concisely highlighting their disparities. At the same time, it sets the stage for the story's development, allowing all narrative threads to intertwine seamlessly. This parallel editing reaches its climax in the scene where Yeager and his team escape by plane from the U.S. military pursuit. The narrative rapidly switches between the White House, U.S. fighter jet squadrons, and Yeager's group, cleanly showcasing the direct confrontation between the opposing factions.
Second is scene cutting.
Scene cutting means abruptly cutting away at the moment of conflict or just before, then cutting to another character's equally urgent or even unrelated scene. This technique is commonly used in multi-threaded films to create suspense, build intense atmospheres, and effectively guide and control audience emotions. The author aptly uses this method in several climax scenes, such as during the battle at a church in the Congo rainforest, where a Congo warlord, manipulated by the White House, forces child soldiers made from local orphans into combat, trapping Yeager and others in a dilemma. They don't want to shoot the children, but if they don't, they'll be attacked by the child soldiers. At this critical moment, the narrative abruptly stops and shifts to a flashback of a memory, a boy's recollection, how his family was killed by the warlord, and how he was trained as a child soldier. The recollection continues to the current battle, and finally, they escape the predicament because the new human child scatters US dollars on the battlefield, causing the child soldiers to scramble for them. In the second problem with the lizard, this approach, it reveals the tragic background of the child soldiers, making it impossible to kill them, and evokes reader understanding and empathy for Yeager's conflicted feelings. It also highlights the new human child's cleverness, wisdom, and understanding of humanity. Beyond cinematic narrative techniques, the author excels at setting foreshadowing and guiding reasoning. The novel's opening Scorpions section plants several foreshadows, mainly in the presidential briefing, where the first two intelligence reports concern wars in the Middle East initiated by the U.S. president. This indicates that the U.S. is in a difficult situation with internal and external troubles, and the military, is understaffed, hence the use of mercenaries like Yeager. And the third piece of intelligence states that someone in the CIA leaked classified information to human rights monitoring groups. This actually implies that the U.S. military uses shady methods like torture on prisoners of war, and foreshadows Garrett's easy defection in the mercenary team. Because the person who leaked the information was Garrett. The fourth piece of intelligence concerns the health status of a certain country's leader. This implies U.S. authorities are secretly conducting illegal surveillance domestically and abroad, while also foreshadowing the email or call monitoring of characters like the Gahey father-son duo and anthropologist Pierce. The author also guides readers to fill in gaps. In mystery novels, authors use techniques like vagueness and negative space to let readers imagine and reason alongside characters solving puzzles. For example, there's a plot point briefly mentioned in the novel. American think tank scholar Rubens believes the mercenary team was specially selected by the new human child. Readers instantly recall scenes like the three previous candidates dying in attacks, while Iraqi militants abandoned their assault on Yeager at the last second. But Yeager, another example is paratrooper Miles being able to pilot aircraft. There's also a Japanese member in the mercenary team, etc. Though the novel never explicitly states if the new human child intervened in selection, readers can deduce from clues that intervention occurred. The child eliminated candidates unfavorable to their mission and specifically selected more suitable individuals. These people were either easily turned or had special skills, all advantageous for rescuing the new human child. Of course, the author conceals key truths to preserve dramatic reveals and surprises. Beyond compelling plots and artistic techniques, scientific rigor is crucial for successful sci fiction. This novel spans chemistry, pharmacology, anthropology, genetics, cryptography, linguistics, politics, and military science, fields rarely mastered simultaneously. Thus, the author conducted extensive research, consulting numerous authoritative sources. 29 major scientific references alone are listed. In the acknowledgments, the author specifically thanks 16 subject matter experts. He particularly mentions interviewing Professor Tsuneyoshi Oba from Japan's prestigious pharmaceutical university, Hokuriku University. In the laboratory, the professor spent over 10 hours detailing crucial aspects of drug manufacturing. Beyond rigorous scientific approaches, the author must build reasonable scientific fantasies upon existing science. Especially since the story is set in the early 21st century, the era we live in now, this places higher demands on the author's scientific imagination. For example, in reality, new drug development has long cycles, high costs, and low success rates. In the novel, the author addresses these challenges by creating a super software concept, combining real-world pharmaceutical breakthroughs from when the book was written. Designing drugs via AI, in reality, artificial intelligence is indeed a hot topic in pharmaceutical research. AI applications span all drug development stages. Using AI to discover drug molecules was named one of MIT Technology Review's top 10 breakthrough technologies of 2020. And, compared to traditional methods, AI discovers new molecular compounds or drug targets faster, accelerating development and accurately predicting experimental outcomes. It improves success rates at every drug development stage. The novel was published in 2011. Since 2012, global pharma giants like Merck, GSK, Sanofi, and AstraZeneca have actively explored AI in drug R&D. This shows how closely the author's scientific fantasies align with technological advancements. Another example, the book's premise that new humans threaten modern humans also has scientific basis. Modern anthropology and archaeology show that when Homo sapiens left Africa around 70,000 years ago, other human branches like Neanderthals coexisted. What happened when Homo sapiens met other human branches? Two theories exist. The interbreeding theory, where groups interbred and merged. The opposite view, replacement theory, suggests incompatibility, even genocide. Ultimately, Homo sapiens replaced all other human branches. More archaeological evidence supports replacement theory. The author unhesitatingly adopts replacement theory for his concrete fantasies. He uses the Heisman report to argue that if the new human child grows and multiplies into a population, modern humans will vanish from Earth. The fate of Peking man and Neanderthals will repeat itself on us. This well-founded logical imagination makes readers feel it's not baseless, and the resulting sense of crisis naturally arises. Beyond scientific rigor, a successful sci-fiction novel cannot lack humanistic thought. Next, let's discuss the ideological depth of this novel. The book sets its story in the contemporary era, with sci-fiction elements closely tied to current technology, blending truth and fiction, reality and illusion, thus making the reflections more relevant. The novel first reflects on the good and evil in human nature. There's a description in the book: all adults in a Monbele village were killed. Children who witnessed their parents' murders were herded to a place. A boy trying to escape stumbled over a freshly severed head on the ground, and a militiaman rushed over, raising his machete to chop. But he split the boy's forehead in half. The other children watched trembling as their companion fell to the ground, brains spilling out. Everyone understood that misfortune was about to befall them. In fact, the scene described in the book is a true portrayal of the real-life Rwandan genocide. On April 6, 1994, the Rwandan president died in a plane crash, becoming the trigger for the Rwandan genocide. From April to July that year, large-scale violent conflicts occurred between the Tutsi and Hutu tribes in Rwanda, resulting in the slaughter of 500,000 to 1 million people, with most victims being Tutsi. The Rwandan genocide is also regarded as the most tragic ethnic cleansing event since World War II. The novel's detailed descriptions of the killings are based on records from the Rwandan genocide, but the brutality in the novel is far less than the reality. According to related documentaries and media reports, in reality, most of the nearly million-person massacre was carried out with machetes. Among the victims, some even offered money to be shot in the head to avoid being hacked to death with a blunt machete. Ay. In the novel, Dr. Heisman said that among all living beings, humans are the only animals that commit genocide against their own kind. Human nature is brutal. Um,
The novel also ruthlessly criticizes and satirizes the bureaucrats in the U.S. White House.
The novel reveals that the fundamental purpose of the U.S. launching wars in the Middle East is to plunder oil resources, pointing out that behind-the-scenes financial groups incite wars to profit immensely, exposing scandals like the U.S. military using third countries to torture prisoners and the U.S. government's conspiracy to illegally spy on its own citizens and even foreign officials. Readers can easily link these to real events, alluding to real events like the Iraq War, Afghanistan War, Abu Ghraib scandal, and PRISM surveillance. The book also clearly states that the fundamental purpose of government development aid from developed countries to developing nations, like aid to Africa, is investment. No matter how noble it's portrayed, the real goal is to grab resources and consumers, and for complete drug treatments, profit-driven development comes first. If a disease doesn't affect many patients, pharmaceutical companies won't develop treatments because those drugs don't make money. Of course, the author doesn't just write about the ugly side of human nature. In the novel, he actively shows humanity's kindness, whether scientists who always care about the future, kind-hearted poor students dedicated to healing, or mercenaries who shoulder humanity's fate for personal reasons. They all uphold values of science and justice. It's these people who let the new human child see the good side of modern humans, enabling trust, help, overcoming evil, and bringing new hope for the future. As Dr. Rubens said, Homo sapiens' prosperity comes from altruistic acts outweighing exclusive ones. In human nature, there's a bit more good than evil, so defining humans as mutually cooperative animals ain't far off. Beyond human nature, the author exposes that war's essence is humanity's beastly desires. With military organization evolving and weapons improving, killing in modern wars will only get worse. On this, the author clearly conveys his anti-war, anti-dictatorship views and pursuit of peace. Dr. Heisman points out that war is another form of intraspecies killing. Humans use smarts to coin terms like politics, religion, ideology, and patriotism to hide this instinct. Essentially, it's just humans killing each other over territory due to beastly urges. No different from chimpanzees raging and fighting when their turf's invaded. What's the difference between the two? At the start of the novel's second part, describing Rubens' research experience, there's a very interesting conversation with the psychologist. They discuss the firing rate of U.S. soldiers in combat, which rose from 20% in World War II to 95% in the Vietnam War.
There is a crucial reason is maintaining distance between soldiers and their killing targets.
This distance includes psychological and physical aspects. Psychological distance is created by factors like race, language, religion, and ideology. The greater the psychological distance, the easier it becomes to kill, with far less guilt. Physical distance means using long-range weapons, since soldiers who kill enemies up close suffer lifelong trauma.
Bombers who take hundreds of lives in airstrikes feel no remorse whatsoever.
Thus, weaponry increasingly emphasizes maximum distance from enemies and mass casualties through simple means. With military evolution and weapon improvements, killing in modern warfare will inevitably intensify. The novel's relevance is glaring. On one hand, it shows us that catastrophic threats are imminent. and humanity must stay vigilant. On the other hand, it reveals that by punishing evil and rewarding good, humanity still has great hope. The most cautionary element in the novel is the Heisman Report. It lists 5 factors that could cause human extinction. First, cosmic scale disasters like asteroid impacts and subsequent secondary disasters. Second, global environmental changes. For example, Earth's magnetic field weakening, leaving us vulnerable to solar winds and cosmic radiation. Third, nuclear wars, limited, full-scale, or accidental launches, all could wipe out humanity. Because once a nuclear attack occurs, the balance maintained by restraint collapses, triggering unstoppable retaliatory strikes. Fourth, viral threats and biological weapons. For instance, a new virus directly attacking human immune systems could endanger our entire species. Fifth, human evolution. New humans would eliminate modern humans to claim living space. If the first 2 factors are natural disasters, the last 3 are man-made calamities. Against natural disasters, we can do little. They're nearly unavoidable and beyond our control. But against man-made calamities, we can do much more. For example, opposing war, eliminating nuclear threats, and maintaining world peace are now global consensus among peace-loving nations and peoples. Moreover, historical atrocities like germ warfare, viral warfare plots, and related virus development and human experiments have long been exposed and condemned worldwide, nailed to the pillar of historical shame. But the novel notes that those farthest from the enemy, psychologically and physically, are often the highest authorities deciding to wage war. Such supreme leaders are often prisoners of their lust for power. People who triumph in political struggles. Such individuals possess extraordinary warlike qualities. Therefore, anti-war, anti-dictatorship, and anti-authoritarianism are the more practical warnings hidden behind the Heisman Report. Faced with human ugliness and extinction threats, the author remains optimistic about humanity's fate. The novel repeatedly suggests human evolution is both a cause of extinction and a potential path to salvation. The novel concludes with a dialogue between 2 generations of scientists, Heisman and Rubens, discussing new human development and modern humanity's future. The older scientist, Dr. Heisman, holds pessimistic views, having witnessed too much falsehood and evil. He advocates replacing modern humans. The younger scientist, Rubens, is more optimistic. In his view, humanity did stray historically, but that's in the past. Though contemporary society has flaws, these can now be corrected or prevented through scientific approaches. Crucially, modern humans' goodwill and altruism make them essentially new humans evolving toward a superior species. Their collaboration with the new human siblings proves modern humans can coexist and develop alongside them. So humanity's future remains hopeful. In this sense, humanity's future depends on humanity itself. All right, that concludes our interpretation of human extinction. Reading notes are below the audio. See you next time.